Hello, and welcome to Holistic Harmony. I'm an average mom reclaiming my power to live a meaningful and abundant life through health, spirituality, and connection. I break down complex emotional and physical health topics into simple, easy to understand information and give you practical tips to integrate this knowledge into your daily life. So please join me and invest some time into cultivating the very best version of yourself. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me this week. I am so glad that you're here. I am so appreciative of you guys for subscribing, for following the channel, for checking it out for the first time. Please give me a like on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and all that good stuff. I'd appreciate it. To get my metrics up, that'd be wonderful. So last week I talked about letting it go. I had a rough week last week. It was pretty brutal. I was just very much in my head at the beginning of the week, and it was hard to pull myself out of a funk, just all in the feels for sure. And just kind of living through the emotions that I was going through in those moments and trying to find the other side, because whenever you have kids and all that stuff, there's really no time to sit there and be in your feels all day for multiple days. You have to get up and be with them and be present for them, and for yourself, so that you're not missing out on these days of their lives and your life, where you could be connecting and having a good time. So I definitely went through it, and I'm going to kind of talk about a couple things I did, and then some inner work that I actually did this morning that I thought was really good to share. So whenever I was going through the feels, I went outside all day, got in the sun. That was really important for me. It basically kept me going. Luckily, we had really good weather, so it was perfect time to just pull up a picnic blanket and just do everything from outside. And that really helped. And then just spending time to clear my headspace during the day, when I felt like I was getting overwhelmed or things weren't quite going my way, everything was kind of rolling forward. I would just stop and do a quick 5-minute meditation, where I would find this YouTube video that I like to listen to, the 5-minute reset, or just try to quiet my mind to where I wasn't thinking about anything, not thinking about the situation I was in, not thinking about what I said and how I should have said it differently, and thinking in my head about feeling justified and then questioning whether I was justified. And in every relationship, basically, that I had last week, it felt like that. So I'm glad to say that I'm out of that, but I just kind of wanted to share a few things that helped me get out of that. So the meditations were really good, and just journaling. I journaled a lot. I journaled exactly how I felt, and every little conversation that I had with myself in my head, I tried to get it on paper. And then that kind of helped me sort through it a little bit, move through it. And then I also tried to always keep sight of, even though I was having a bad moment in time, that I still had these big things that I want out of life, and I'm still manifesting the good things that I want, and still being grateful for every little thing that I have. That was really key, and still just hopeful for the future, and definitely not being oh, well, this sucks and now everything's screwed kind of mentality, because that gets us absolutely nowhere. But, trying to still fake it till I make it, keep telling myself in my head that it's okay, that I did the right thing, that life is great and I have wonderful kids, which is all true, but just really pounded in my head until finally one day I just snapped out of it and was able to pull forward mentally, I feel like. So all that stuff was great. And then, it's been a great couple days, very high energy days. We had a lot of earth energy going on. I don't know if anybody follows Schumann. Consciously Erin does them, and she talks about the energy coming from the earth's core, because the earth has magnetic energy and all this stuff, and they actually can monitor that. I think they monitor in Russia and Italy maybe, and she kind of reports on what the earth energy is doing. And sometimes there's a lot of energy coming in through solar flares and different things like that in the universe and from the earth's core, and sometimes it's there's not a lot of energy going on. Sometimes there's full moon and Saturn and whatever constellation and all these different things that you've probably heard of, and how that could possibly affect our moods and our reactions. Maybe some days you're real reactionary, you're ready to snap or ready to pop off or ready to share what how you feel. Let me give you a truth bomb really quick. Where did those come from? Because not every day do I feel like I'm ready to give truth bombs, but every so often I'm in that mode where the things just feel like they have to be said. And sometimes that's a good thing, and I feel like it's all a good thing and for a reason and for my higher purpose and all those things. But I know that I have a sharp tongue, and and I have a lot of advice, and not every piece of advice I can even follow, but somehow I just feel like I know what they need, or and I'm probably like totally misguided, although I don't know, it's like really hard, but I'm not perfect, and sometimes I can see things in other people that I can't even see for myself, or maybe it's just what I want. I don't know. So anyway, that's the issue, right? It's like this inner work, and I'm still doing it even today, of like trying to figure out exactly how the pieces work together and why I feel the way I feel, and like why did I get so triggered, or why did I feel like I needed to do a truth bomb, or why did I feel like we needed to have the altercation. Sometimes it's like something's brewing, you're kind of annoyed with somebody for something, but you're like, it's fine, I don't need to say anything, it's not that serious or whatever, and things kind of go on for a while, and then all of a sudden you're like, it has to be said. So I had that moment with my mom a few days ago about her bringing in negativity, um, and it was really important. And it's funny, one of my friends said to me today, because I told her what happened and what I said about the girls and I having this really great moment outside. I had just meditated and I was grounded and I felt great. And the girls were laughing and we're having a good time. My mom came in, and I could see she had a day. Like I knew from the second I saw her, but she just started, I called her catastrophizing, just saying every little thing that was wrong, and, spiraling into the things that went wrong that day and all that stuff. And I was like, you know, like, I love you. I really do. I love you so much. But it's just the negativity is not helping us in this situation. And not only are you bringing yourself down with the spiraling of negativity, but you're like bringing me down too. And I'm trying to function at my highest level for my kids and my husband and for myself. So it's like, I just can't have the negativity all the time, and oh my God, I broke my finger. And it's like, okay, look, you slammed your finger in the door. Like, I get it hurts, just like the girls, I get it hurts. Oh, do you want to ice pack, but like, let's not just go to the place of like the worst thing, like, oh my God, my finger's going to fall off. Like that kind of mentality is not helpful. And so I just spoke my mind, and my friend was like, oh, do you do that all the time? Like, wow, you're so awesome for doing that. I'm like, actually, it's kind of the first time I've ever feel like I really did that, in like maybe in a really appropriate way, where I was like, listen, I love you, I get it, but this is bringing me down. And it felt really good to do that. And hopefully I did it in the right way. You never quite know if you did it, because I struggle to um, like say something helpful or something that it needs to be said without like hurting someone's feelings. And so sometimes I feel like in my head it makes total sense and like it's a good thing, but then after I'm like, oh wait, I've realized how that could have been read wrong. Or if it's a text, like, oh wait, let me read that again. That didn't quite land the way it said it in my head. So I constantly am flipping back to that. But anyway, enough about that. So what was really good was journaling. And I was journaling the whole time. And then today I actually listened to a tarot card reading. I know some people aren't really into that. And, for a long time, I really wasn't either. But recently, as I'm like going through this spiritual awakening, this meditation, and trying to quiet my mind, the more that stuff feels really good to me, because I listen to really nice people that are really like super uplifting and amazing. And I listen to them in the mornings when I'm just waking up and I'm real groggy and I'm trying to just get up. And sometimes it's just so uplifting and it feels so great. And I'm like, oh God, that was great advice, like go out and get them kind of advice. And sometimes it doesn't resonate, and that's fine. I just don't really finish those or whatever. But I listened to one this morning and she was talking about cosmic events and planets and stuff. And last night we had the full moon in Leo, and then, some things shifted around. And she was talking about how that shift of Mars in Cancer, Mars, the planet, there's the solar system and everything, the sky that we see, and we see the constellations all around us in a big circle, obviously. And they kind of like map that out and have where the planets are and how they line up in like latitude and longitude, I guess. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. With the constellations and things like that. So that's how they'll be like, Mars is in Cancer because Mars, the planet, is kind of lining up in the sky with the constellation of Cancer. Like it's in there somewhere. And Mars is all about action. Like whenever Mars comes out, usually people take action in their lives and careers. And Cancer is about your feelings. And I was just having lots of feelings. And so it felt really natural for me this morning when I was listening to that to really get into my feelings and do some inner work. And so today I'm going to talk about I guess, astrology a little bit and tie it into the work that I did this morning. So in astrology, I was kind of talking about how the planets aligned with the constellations in our sky. And they use a natal chart to kind of, instead of thinking of it as like the earth and this big sky and all these big things happening, is to try to condense that in like a diagram basically, and show in a circle the constellations. Like they'll have the planets that are in the different constellations at that time, or on that day at that specific time, because it's constantly moving. So some things will stay in certain constellations for a long time, like things that are far away don't move as fast as things that are really close. Like the moon changes all the time. And the sun changes all the time. So there's a daily natal chart for like today's date and what's actually happening in our sky. If we go out and look at it, then that planet, if you get like a sky view app or whatever, you put it up at the stars and you find planets, you'll see that they're in constellations. Like it'll be a part of the constellation is the planet that's in front of it, in front of the stars of that constellation. And also you can get a natal chart for your birthday, your birth time, and exactly where you were born. And that tells you exactly in that moment what the sky was like in that time. You know, it'll tell you what the sun was in, the moon, and all the other planets in what constellations. And then they also kind of have another part of the natal chart that's called the houses. And the houses are like the different areas of your life. So they like kind of representation. That's like, so all that stuff, astrology, like how the planets move in the zodiac, like in the constellations, that's all, you know, obvious. You can go out and look at that with your eye. But I guess this is the part where it gets like woo woo for some people, is that there's houses attached to it. And those houses are reflective of your temperament at different times. I really find that your zodiac sign, like what's your sign? I'm a Virgo, and you'll read your sign and you can find a lot of similarities in like what you read about it. And your sign is your sun sign. So that's where the sun was when you were born. Your sun sign represents like your core personality of who you are, how you present yourself to the world, your basic like energy in this life. And then your moon sign reflects your inner feelings, that change all the time. Like, and then your rising sign is also a part that like kind of shows your temperament in life as well. And some people say that they feel really strong with your sun sign early in life, and then later in life maybe they go more towards their rising or their moon or whatever. But anyway, you can usually find some like nuggets in there that you find interesting and that kind of correlate to your personality. At least I do. I find that I can correlate it pretty easily. So you have your natal chart for what day you're in now, and then also your birth chart of what it was when you were there. So today we have Mars and Cancer in the sixth house. Mars is action and Cancer is feelings. Sixth house is usually to do with like our daily lives, our work, health, relationships, and things like that. So it's kind of like what I was thinking this morning, what I was called to do is like what happened recently that you need to dissect. So that was the message of Mars and Cancer in the sixth house, is what happened recently that you really need to dissect. And obviously I can think exactly what happened recently that I need to dissect. And so I just like went right into it this morning. I started journaling and writing like, first, I went and looked at my birth chart to see where Mars was. So I used the natal chart to guide me. I used astrology to guide me into what to work on today whenever I felt very receptive to some inner work this morning. It was like, I'm going to do this. Let me get out my journal. And how am I going to do it? I don't know. So then I leaned on astrology to help guide me into what I should work on. I let the cosmos dictate, like, okay, astrology says right now you're in your feelings and Mars is about action. How can you take action on your feelings? And I just said, okay, let me go with that. And it was really productive for me today. So even if you see this video way later, you can look at the natal sign, and I'll post a link to the one I use to get them. And you can do it for any time and see what's going on. Where's the moon and things like that? Where's Mars? Where's whatever going on? And try to figure out what maybe you need to work on. Or maybe it might be really obvious to you exactly what you need to work on. So whenever I looked at my chart, it showed that Cancer were in the 10th house. And that's related to nurturing and emotional care. And last week, like a big thing that happened for me was really activated by my like nurturing side of my personality, which can be pretty overwhelming. I think for some people, I feel very strongly needing to like protect people. I feel very strongly needing to empathize with them and to understand what they're going through. And then this is the part that gets me in trouble, is like, I'm always trying to find solutions to their problems. Like I will go out of my way to like rectify something for someone, to take up for somebody that I felt was wronged, like call a manager. I have stories of one time I had this friend when I was in college, and her mom had been diagnosed with breast cancer. And so I felt so bad for her, like, can't imagine what you're going through. And we were just new in college. And she had this professor that when she said that her mom was having surgery, he was so mean to her and he was so rude to her about it. And it made me so upset to the point where I called him and told him that was not okay for him to talk to her like that. And I was professional about it. I wasn't like saying crazy stuff to this guy. I just told him that what he did wasn't cool and that it hurt her and that she's already going through enough. And like, but see, I shouldn't have done that. I like stepped all up in it, and like she hated me after that. And I can understand her point of why that was like embarrassing. And I really hate it. It like almost makes me want to cry now thinking about it. Because I really didn't mean to hurt her, at all. But but I felt so strongly like I had to stand up for what was right. And so I like had to learn that experience the hard way. And I'm still learning, man. Like I know I stepped in it with Rachel and I said things that I shouldn't and tried to get involved where I shouldn't, and also was just being me. And like I think, wanted more creative license to do whatever I want. That's really hard for me to not have that. And so I get it. Like, I'm doing the work. So last week I was just obsessed with connection. And I've been really obsessed with connection for a while now, like probably for a year. And even before that, thinking about presence and connection and knowing that the secret sauce to life and to happiness is to be connected with the people that we love and with ourselves. But I've never known like how to really get that. And it's kind of been hard my whole life to try to get that because I felt, like, so this was part of the work I did this morning is thinking about, okay, I want to be so connected with people, but for some reason it's not clicking. I'm not getting what I want. I'm telling them I want to be connected with them. I tell my husband all the time, I want to be so connected and talk. Like, I want us to like talk for hours and hours and just like can't wait to talk again. I mean, I can't wait to see him all the time, but talking is a big thing for me. And being able to express deep things and all sorts of things and cool things that I'm really into, like the kind of woo woo stuff. I mean, I get it, it's woo woo, but I love that stuff. And to talk about quantum physics and crazy stuff, like the crazy stuff of the universe and this amazing world that we live in. I mean, I can get so pumped about talking about just the earth and growing stuff and how, oh, did you know that the plant roots under the ground and how they do all these things? And I don't know, it's just like, I just love that stuff. I'm so passionate about it. And I want to share that with someone. And I guess part of that someone for me was Rachel. And I've loved Rachel forever. And I wish we could be like sisters, like the kind of people where you're like, oh my God, that's my best friend. They know everything about me and I know everything about them. And I just want that so bad too. And she's got her own stuff and her own plate, and her plate is so full. And she's just trying to be the best mom and wife and all that stuff. And I get that, but I just have this strong desire to have such a connection with people and with my girls. And that's just like my life's mission. I do a lot of other stuff in there, but for me, it's all about connection and getting deeper with people. I'm obsessed with knowing things, hearing the funny stories, and just getting so deep and being like, dude, I understand you. I feel for you. And if you have issues, let's sit down and try to figure it out together kind of thing, but that's troublesome as well. And sometimes it's not good for me to get involved. I'll get so involved with my parents, for instance, that it's taking time away from my life to try to sort through stuff and like figure things out for them. And not always are they even receptive to what I've figured out for them, that in my mind, oh well, they need this. Like if they like don't have a lot of money, then I'm filing for whatever benefits they might be able to receive and stuff like that. And they should get that because they can, and they're struggling, then they should have it, But at the same time, that takes a lot out of me to put energy into doing this. And then sometimes it's not even taken forward. Like they didn't want to do that, or there was another part that they had to do that just was too much or whatever. So anyway, that's a lot of energy for me. And I have to be careful to not expend such energy doing stuff for people all the time. And to try to bring my focus down. And instead of trying to do everything for so many different people, to try to just do it for my husband and my kids and just really consolidate my energy on my inner circle. But that's hard because I like other people too. I'm just very peoply and I love connecting with people, you know. And, like also a part of that is that I feel that I do so much for other people and that I care so much for other people and that I empathize with them so much that sometimes it's hard because I feel like no one truly cares about me the way like I care about them. And I know that sounds crazy and like it almost sounds messed up for me to even say that, I guess, but like sometimes like I just feel very lonely that like I feel like I don't know. Like I just go so far on a limb for people, but people don't really seem to go far on that limb for me, I guess. Or when I'm really trying to connect with them, it feels like I just can't get through. But in my head, I'm just like, I love you so much. Oh my God. But I'm not like obsessed with them or anything. But I just love, I love so hard. And I just want people to be so happy and healthy. And whenever I see people struggling with illnesses or mental challenges or whatever, I just want you to live life at your fullest capacity, like the very best life you can. And I just want that for everybody. And even in my meditations, I'll go through myself and what I want for myself and who I want to be and who I am at manifestation language and then what I want for my family, my husband and my two girls. And I'll think about us. And then I'll kind of bring in the rest of my family into my meditation into like this beautiful circle of light that I, think of in my head. And I bring in parents and aunts and uncles and cousins and friends. And then like everyone I've ever met or, people who had an influence in my life forever and their families. And I try to just like branch it out until like it just kind of hits everybody and just think about like world peace and really using our resources. Like America is just so great and we have such advancement in so many things. We have technology for everything. And I just wish that we could use that technology to help each other out and be better. And everybody have to try so hard or it's like you look around and you look at even your family and your friends and you see their struggles and I just hate to see them struggle with health problems and mental problems when you know there's a way to get out of it, but it's hard to get out of it and sometimes the answer is not super easy to find. But anyway, that was a tangent. We have the power in the United States to do anything, and it would be great if like we could do that in a way that benefits everybody and everybody feels good and everybody's taken care of and all that stuff. So whenever I started this morning thinking about that stuff, thinking about what happened and what got me so upset last week and exactly why I felt the way I did and the nurturing feelings and stuff like that, and figuring all that stuff out helped me dissect it further. And one of the helpful things about doing it, inner work, is trying to go back to your childhood and think about why the thing that happened today or yesterday or last week, how maybe the feelings that you had can correlate possibly to something that you felt in childhood. Because a lot of times that's when things got rewired for us because we went through experiences. Parents, especially, put a huge impact on children, obviously, because that's your primary caregiver. That's who trains you in this life for the first 18 years of your life, and especially the first 5 years of your life, the first 10 years of your life. And that parental bond and the message that you send to your kids, and also the messages from their peers and from the media and all that other stuff, how all that stuff plays in their psyche and develops their personality and their fears and their shadows, their demons in their life and stuff like that. I always try to go back to childhood and figure it out and forgive as well. So whenever I was a kid, I felt like loved by my parents. Absolutely. I felt very loved by my dad. I felt very loved by my mom. I felt loved in a sense by my family, but I also had this sense when I was a kid, like my mom was like the black sheep of the family, of her family, and also like a target, I think, for my dad's family as well. My mom was kind of like, she had a big character and she was well spoken and she was smart and she wouldn't take any bull from people, I think, and was probably bossy. But then also, like, what I've realized now is that my mom also kind of lacks this ability to, in the very best way, I'm not talking down on her at all, but she doesn't quite understand like how to read the room, right? Like the social cues of an interaction and how you like hurt somebody's feelings in the way you said something or how you came across in the way you said something, that kind of thing. That little bit, almost what I actually struggle with too, but on a lesser degree, that I think that probably got her in trouble with her family and her sister and her siblings and with her parents of like being misunderstood. And I don't think necessarily that she does it on purpose because she's doing it out of spite. I mean, sometimes she does, but not always. But I think she's always been misunderstood in that way and continues to be. And I try to see through that. And I also, funnily, realize that it's like a characteristic that's really strong in my daughter. One of my daughters, Arabella, also kind of is like that. Like when Addison gets hurt or something and Addison's got like a freaking egg on her forehead with like blood coming out of it, and I'm like, oh my god, and trying to console Addison, Arabella would be like when are we gonna eat dinner, can you fix me dinner now? And I'm like, dude, like, excuse me, stuff's going down right now. Read the room, you know? And so I understand that needing to accept my mom for those qualities is really important to me because I'm gonna have it in my kid. And I definitely want to be able to nurture her and mother her appropriately to work past that kind of issue and not just be misunderstood the way I think my mom was with her family to where they end up being the black sheep. So, and helping her work through that and understand those social cues that she's missing in a very nice and loving way, hopefully. But anyway, so that's the story about my mom and that. But so she was the black sheep, and because she was the black sheep, and people misunderstood her or whatever, and then from being misunderstood, then she would act out, and that's when she would like torch everything to the ground, and she would, just it was horrible, not horrible. I mean, I understand people have been through absolute worst things, but didn't care about who she hurt in the warpath, including me. Um, but part of that is understanding that, okay, I get that I didn't feel nurtured because of that. And it was really hard for me to understand the adults in the situation and why they felt like they couldn't have a relationship with me, maybe because of my mom and where that came from. And hopefully, this is helping you understand how I went through the process of it. I'm not just trying to regurgitate all my family stuff or childhood traumas or whatever, but trying to show you how I'm getting to where I'm going here. And I guess also being open, and I like to talk. So that's what it is. So understanding that, and then also my need to be nurtured. So I felt like I wasn't nurtured, which is also kind of how I feel now a little bit. Unfortunately, I'm trying to work past that and understand how I can feel more nurtured in life. And then also why I need to nurture so hardcore and why I need to protect so hardcore and all those things. And that's all from childhood too. My mom, this beautiful wounded woman who was misunderstood and burned everything to the ground, and then my dad who had his own struggles through life and struggled with this condition called depersonalization, which is like where you kind of feel like you're in the matrix in a bad way. And so I think that he probably felt, I mean, I don't know how they felt. This is what I'm trying to perceive so that I can understand them and so I can heal and move forward and forgive and have compassion for them. And how maybe he felt like his family thought he was crazy when he was young, and how they can downgrade him because of that, and that he struggled forever in finding his footing. And I felt like I was always nurturing my parents, I guess. And I felt like if I wasn't there to, um, to like I needed to be at home to put out the fires, is how I felt metaphorically and actually. But I just felt like I always had to be there to pick up the pieces, or because I knew if I wasn't there that things were going to crumble to pieces, is how I felt in my house. And so I didn't want to go to school when I was little, and I felt like I just needed to be home. I had this urge that I just had to be there. I just needed to stay there. And that it was the only place that was safe to. So I think that's where nurturing comes from, nurturing my parents as well, which I continue to do. But basically what you're trying to figure out is how in your childhood were you expected to act, or how did you act to keep the peace, to either keep the peace with your mom or your dad, to help things go smoothly? Like, what did you have to do? How did you have to act? Did you have to like bring in straight A's or else it wasn't acceptable? Or did you have to be in all the sports? Or were you required to do maybe more work in your childhood than really should be for a child? You know, some kids have to have a ton of chores and learn responsibility, but there's this line of like, kids also need to be allowed to be kids, and you only get to be a kid for a short period of time in life, and you have the whole rest of your life to work really, really, really hard and be successful and do all the things. I'm not saying that you shouldn't show your kids what that hard work and success looks like, but to expect them to be so hardworking all the time, I mean, they also need to just be kids too and do kid stuff and play in the dirt and all that other stuff too. But try to think of what in childhood set you back. Like, what are some of the things that you can attribute with a bad memory, or something that you feel like hurt you or traumatized you or made you cry, or, you know, those bad memories. I mean, I'm not asking anybody to go and like wallow in despair over bad memories, just try to think of them and then try to understand that it wasn't your fault, that you should have been able to be a kid, and comforting your inner child, like going back to that memory and telling yourself, I know this sucks. This is not right. I'm sorry you're having to do this. You're like talking to your inner child and just nurturing them like you would if it was your own kid. You know, like if your kid came to you and said, this happened to me, how would you talk to your own kid? And that's how you want to talk to yourself, as like this inner child version of you. And that can be really effective to nurture that person. But then taking it a step further is also trying to understand your parents' perspective and what they went through and how the challenges that they had in their life and how their parents raised them and their socioeconomic status and all these different things, how that played into their life and how that had an impact on their parenting. And always try to come to a place where you can forgive them and try to understand that they were doing the best they can. Obviously, they still loved you and all that other stuff, but they, even though your parents love you, they still hurt you. And I know this because I know that, like, even though I love my girls more than absolutely anything, and like they're the light of my life and my absolute heart, and I do all this self work because of them, but also, you know, for me and my husband too, but really big strong pull to be a great parent to them, and I hurt them. And so I understand that even though you do your best, like you just hurt your kids because it's hard to do your best all the time, and we're all angry for our own reasons and have our own bad feelings and things that trigger us into making snap decisions and to saying hurtful things to people and to our kids and all that stuff. But, you know, this is why we journal and we try to get to the root of why we did the thing we did, why we reacted the way we reacted, and try to move on and heal those wounds so that we stop doing the things that are hurting our kids and our friends and our husbands and wives and our parents and the world, you know, and try to understand that and try to heal it so that we can just have good, healthy, happy lives. So you have to be able to accept people for who they are. So if you want, and this is a big one for me, if you want people to accept the way you are, you have to also accept the way they are. And that's one of my biggest struggles, is trying to change people into what I wish for them or what I want them to be for myself. And so that's like a huge learning lesson for me. Forgive people for disappointing you, forgive people for causing you traumas, for making you upset or whatever that's going on, forgiving your parents for negatively impacting you in whatever way that you were, because everybody was. I'm sorry, like everybody has childhood wounds that they should try to heal and move on from, because I'm looking out at people and I just know they have childhood wounds. And I know especially people in the 60s and 70s for so long, and people that have mental disorders in their families and things like that, a lot of that, you can bring it right back to childhood and things that happen, traumas and little events that skewed your brain chemistry and make you react a certain way or trigger you, you know? So like trying to understand people from their perspective and being able to forgive them and to understand where they're coming from. And this is family, friends, like political lines, all that stuff is where we need to try to just understand the other person and have respect for them and forgive them or whatever for whatever it is that you don't agree with or that hurt you in some way. And really try not to run away. You know, we try to run away from our problems and not say the things that need to be said. And that only hurts us in the long run. So, instead of trying to run away from problems, try in that moment when you're having the problems, when you're having the feelings, and you have those negative thoughts and all those things, instead of running away from that, try to run toward what it is you really want. Because, like I said, that was what was key in getting through last week is that I didn't sit there and try to belabor this was said and I said that and you said that and I'm feeling this way and all that stuff. I tried to just shut all that stuff out and get my brain to just focus on I want to be connected with my kids. I want to be connected with my husband. I want us to be healthy and we are healthy and we are these things, you know, and we are going to be happy and we're going to be present and all these great things. That's what I tried to force my brain to think about when I was in the negative space. And you'll find that over time, maybe you'll understand that your wounds, those significant things in your childhood, could be your biggest strengths in life. Like maybe with my inner child wound, this nurturing wound that I have in multiple facets, and my wanting to nurture, like that's probably my special gift in this world is this nurturing personality that I have. It's just how to hone in your skills into a way that's beneficial for our families, the world, or whatever it is. So your wounds can be your inner strength. And that's so beautiful to understand that those things happened to you. Those things weren't fair. Some of those things were absolutely horrible, but they also made you into who you are today. And so you have to take that positivity with you and understand that that's your inner strength. It makes you your spirit and you know, it helps you to become the person that you need to be. A big one for me too is that we can't control other people. We can only control ourselves. And what I find is that the energy that I spend trying to control and fix other people, it's all the energy I need to be able to control myself and my reactions because I need every ounce of control and energy in my life to be able to take a pause when I'm triggered and to not flip out when my kid screams in my face or something like that. You know, like I have to keep it all together in that moment. I need every ounce of energy and goodwill and positive vibrations in the world to get through that moment and not say anything and just slap a smile on my face and figure out that solution in my head really quickly. How do I get this to not escalate right now? Because that pause and that non-escalation is the best thing you can do. And if you can take that pause, especially in adult relationships, is what I need to start doing as well. I'm not just saying like, you do this because it's me too, is whenever you have that reaction, you have that trigger, instead of saying those words out, write them in your journal and go over that trigger because that's the point. You do this exercise when you've done something and you feel triggered and you didn't respond the way you wanted to. And you go through this practice of figuring out why so that the next time it's easier to stop in that moment that you're triggered and journal, or even after you get better where you don't even have to journal every single thing, so that you just know to stop and think and write it down and think about why you're feeling that way. Why are you triggered? Do you really need to respond in this moment, or do you need to do some internal reflection and figure out exactly how you need to proceed so that you will be proceeding in a kind way instead of like writing an apology note or whatever, or hurting your kids and keeping this memory with them forever, because that is so painful to realize that you've done something and they didn't just forget about it. You know, they still remember that you yelled at them. And so it can be really hard as a parent to navigate that and not beat yourself up, but also take the responsibility that you're not beating yourself up, but you're also getting better and you're not putting your kid through these, it's minor abuses. I don't want to say abusing them because it's not like that. But, yelling at your kid or making them feel small or belittling them or whatever thing that upset them, it's forming their brain synapses and the way that they think about the world and the way that they feel as an adult. And these practices where things will come up later and trigger them. And I just don't want to be responsible for my kids' triggers. I know I will be, but I'm trying my best to minimize that and to apologize and explain to them how it wasn't cool and how this is what I should have done instead, and all that other stuff as well, like taking ownership of what you did in the situation and trying to make it better. So, and just wrapping up with a little astrology, because that's what I did this morning and was really prompted by astrology, by tarot to do this practice. Today, we're February 13th, 2025. Today's Mars is in Cancer in the sixth house. That's usually about career action, building our home life, caring for others. We're a bit more emotionally reactive today. And we need to take care of our emotional needs. We don't need to overwork ourselves. This is a time in February where we need to be introspective, reflective of ourselves, doing some inner work, and really trying to boost ourselves for the coming spring and springing things into fruition, our manifested dreams that we've set in motion for the last 6 months to a year or whatever, however long you've been doing it, because these things are all moving forward, the things that we want in life. The things that we've been dreaming of, the things that we're making a reality by working every day so hard on ourselves or hard in our journey. These things are happening. And right now is a good time to just like sit back. We have a little, it's called an energy oasis for like the next week or so, where there's not any real big cosmic movement after this. And things are going to kind of settle down. And I think a lot of us are going to feel in our emotions a little bit and be able to do this inner work and think about things and think about our relationships and think about what we really want out of this life, because this is our life. We only get to live it once, at least in this human life form. I don't know if there's the Matrix and all this crazy stuff, but we have this amazing opportunity in this life on this beautiful, beautiful earth. And all of our amazing relationships that we have with our families, our kids, our parents, our friends, and family, and all that stuff just make our life so wonderful. So I hope everybody can take that, maybe do some inner work, figure out a trigger that happened recently, or if something comes up soon where you feel triggered about something, take it to the journal and try to figure out where that could be coming from and what childhood wound might be responsible for that. So I really hope that this was good information today. I hope I didn't talk too much about my inner personal stuff and you're just like, oh my God, Heather, shut up. But I hope that it helps you figure out kind of how I got from point A to point B or A to Z or whatever. And maybe you can take it into your life and do some inner work and figure out how to resolve some of the triggers that you have, because we all have triggers. There's no one on this earth that is not triggered by anything. And we have an ability to choose our responses to how we're triggered and to make the best out of our life. No matter what our circumstances, we can always make the best of our life and think in a positive way. And so I'm really happy that you guys joined me today. I really appreciate you sticking through and listening to this whole thing. And I hope that you use this information. I hope that you are the happiest and healthiest person that you can ever be in this life. I want absolutely the best for everybody. And I want the best for especially the people in my life. If you know me in any part of our life, trust me, I know you. And I want the very best for everybody, especially people that I've touched in their lives or they've touched me in my life, because I don't forget about people and friends and everybody. So thanks, guys. Please give me a like. Please subscribe to the channel and please send it to anybody that you feel like could